Welcome to the Storyteller channel. I'm your storyteller for this evening. So, settle in, get comfortable, because it's time for a short story. The gas station on the edge of Point Pleasant was half dead. One pump out of order, a soda machine buzzing like a hornet. John leaned against his truck, sipping burnt coffee from a styrofoam cup. Frank pulled up in his old Jeep, throwing it into park with gears grinding. "Ready to get lost," he said, climbing out with a grin and tossing a duffel bag into the bed. John smirked. "Been ready since Tuesday. Got the ammo?" Frank patted his pack. Rifles, beers, and enough jerky to survive a small war. They fueled up, grabbed one last round of snacks, and hit the road. Highway 62 gave away to gravel paths, then dirt. The trees grew thick and wild as they veered deeper into the West Virginia hills. By late afternoon, they were 6 miles off the nearest road, stomping through orange and rust-colored leaves. They pitched their tents near an old logging trail, cracked open beers, and joked about who bagged the first buck. "I swear, Frank," John said, poking the fire, "if you fall asleep and snore like last year, I'm chucking you into the creek." "Try it, and you're the one waking up duct taped to a tree," Frank laughed. By midnight, the fire was down to embers, the woods silent, and the two men zipped into their tent, half drunk and fully tired. That's when the night turned. John bolted upright. The sound was metallic, like a microphone feedback mixed with the dying animal. The tent rattled. Outside, heavy, deliberate footsteps. Frank sat up wide-eyed. "That's not a bear." They unzipped the tent slowly. In the clearing stood a figure, 8 feet tall, wings folded like cloaks against its black skin, stretched thin over long limbs. But worst of all were the eyes, huge, glowing, blood red. It watched them. Then it moved. Frank raised his flashlight too slow. The creature lunged forward with an inhuman shriek, wind blowing, its wings unfurled. John fell back. Frank tried to run. The thing grabbed Frank by his shoulders and lifted off, vanishing into the treetops with a rush of wind and terror. Gone. John spent the rest of the night stumbling through the dark, flashlight flickering, screaming his friend's name into the woods, but the trees answered only with silence. By the dawn, he reached the road and hitched a ride into town. Sheriff Downs listened with furrowed brows as John relayed the story in the office, wild-eyed and voice shaking. "You're telling me a flying man-sized bird thing took Frank Sullivan, with glowing red eyes? It screamed like a damn machine? I'm not crazy." The sheriff didn't believe him. He couldn't ignore the fact that Frank was missing. By noon, a search party had assembled. 10 men, 2 dogs, radios, rifles, and a grim determination. They found the campsite, the gear untouched, Frank's rifle on the ground, huge indentations in the dirt of something heavy that had stood there, and tracks, but they vanished at the edge of a cliff. As they pushed deeper, the radios went haywire and static, random numbers, voices speaking backwards. Then came the clearing. A perfect circle of scorched earth, 30 feet wide. Nothing burned around it, just in the center. In it stood a black monolith. It was smooth, seamless, humming softly. Deputy Collins touched it and immediately collapsed, his eyes rolling back, blood dripping from his nose. The dogs refused to continue. Some men turned back. Dawes insisted to press forward. At dusk, they heard the screech again. Above the trees, Mothman, enormous wings, glowing eyes. But it wasn't alone. 2 more hovered beside it. One of them carried a human shape. It was Frank, limp but alive. "Frank!" John shouted. sprinting after them, but they rose higher and higher, vanishing into the sky. No shots were fired. No one could move. The sheriff ordered the team to fall back. In the days that followed, the monolith was quietly removed by men in the unmarked trucks. The official report cited wild animal activity and a missing person case. John left town not long after. He never saw Frank again. But some nights, locals near the area say they hear screeches echoing across the valley. They see shadows in the clouds, lights blinking in the trees with no source, and always, always the eyes watching. And that was tonight's tale. Thank you for listening to the Storyteller channel, where every story has a shadow and a spark. Until next time, keep your eyes open and your imagination wide.